So maybe a first question would be, give us a state of just your tribes. Madison has just been designated in December, Truax Field, as the home of F35A. Doctor, can you give us an overview?
Two weeks before the November 3 election, and while he's defending two executive orders to try and break Wisconsin's unfortunate surge in COVID-19, it's a great time for a Newsmakers interview with Governor Tony Evers. Governor, thank you for giving us the time, sir.
Thank you so much, Steve. Appreciate it.
I want to respect your time. I got a few things to talk about. Let's talk about your petition yesterday before the Supreme Court. Why is it so important, some of the issues that you raised, sir?
Well, if you're talking about the U.S. Supreme Court, I assume.
Yes, sir. Yes,
we're in all courts here.
Yes, sir.
But it is important that people's votes are able to be counted, and Wisconsin has embraced voting by mail, and they'll continue to do that. And I think it's reasonable that if somebody gets their ballot into the clerk on time, or postmarked on time, that they're able to have that vote counted. So we'll see. We were successful, frankly, in on April to extend that, and hopefully we'll get some extension. It just makes sense. I wish we could change the law in time, but that's not going to happen.
Okay, let's move on to another court case. The Sawyer County judge's ruling temporarily restraining the 25% occupancy. Now, I asked Justice yesterday if that's going to be appealed, and they said, frankly, with all due respect, ask you, are you going to appeal it, or are you going to wait for Monday's follow-up hearing, sir?
Well, we're going to challenge it, whether that means immediate challenge or Monday challenge. That's still being worked out, but it will definitely be challenged. We are disappointed in that ruling to begin with. There's no need for that. We're going to have a hearing anyway. But yes, we will challenge that, and hopefully, this is a real minimal amount of limitation on public gatherings in the state. And frankly, when the White House sends us a note every Monday on how we're doing as a state, and they told us that if mitigation strategies could not be put in place, it's going to cause more unneeded deaths. And to me, that is what we have to always remember. We're not picking on people. We're not trying to do anything but the right thing. And we have now we're in the position of life and death, frankly.
Well, does the result, at least for the weekend, of the Sawyer County judges means there's no 25% occupancy limit in these bars, restaurants, and other businesses, sir?
Well, I believe some of them are publicly. I've seen it on TV. Some of them are publicly, or going ahead and doing it now without waiting for the ruling. But yeah, I'm sure there are some that are going whole hog again. And this isn't picking on bars. This is just making sure that people are safe. Simple as that.
Okay. You said in your U.S. Supreme Court petition and in your DHS briefing earlier this week, you were critical of Republicans. On Monday, Democratic Representative Gary Hebel at the JCRAR meeting said this: Republicans, these are his words, not mine. Republicans, you have blood on your hands on this issue. Do you agree with that statement, sir?
Well, that certainly brings it home, but yes, I agree with it in this context. Every single thing we've tried to do to mitigate this disease, we've been sued or taken to court, and so I'm more than happy to meet with the Republicans and have them tell me what they're for. I know what they're against. They're against requiring face coverings. They don't want us to even limit in any small way public gatherings. And so we know what they're against. I want to know what they're for. If they're for something that's actually going to make a difference, let's sit down and do it.
Well, okay, if the legislature was in session today, what specific bills to help the state of Wisconsin fight COVID-19 would you want them to be taking up, debating, and passing. What specific changes, sir?
Sure, and they're the ones we're trying to do. I mean, it's not like there is this whole slew of 100 things that can be done. You look at what happened in the southern part of this country when they were in the same predicament. Those Republican governors shut down things, just completely shut them down. I'm not even asking for that. I'm just asking for, I would ask them to do what we're doing now. The health experts keep telling us, make sure you're washing your hands, make sure you're doing a face covering, make sure you're not getting into large groups and with people not wearing masks. It's not rocket science. So those are the things that work. I certainly would appreciate getting some help from the legislature around those issues. And clearly if we could find the resources to help small business owners, but we've been doing that with federal money. I think that's less of an issue. We need to stop this pandemic. That is the major thing on the table here.
Well, you mentioned federal aid. What are your concerns? The worst case scenario, if Congress cannot agree on another federal aid package to help states like Wisconsin. Worst case scenario, sir.
Yeah, that would be devastating in two respects. One is obviously we're facing a revenue shortfall, and we need to kind of make up that. But most importantly, as of 12/31, we will have no money for testing. We will have no money for contact tracing. And I can guarantee you, as I sit here today, that this pandemic will not be over by next January. So we're gonna need that money, and of course we need money for the small businesses and minority businesses and other parts of our economy that are struggling. But in the public health world, we won't have money to do testing and contact tracing. We need the legislature to step up.
Well, you mentioned the state budget. The surplus on July 1 was $760 million. I think your administration will later today announce that your don't spend order will save at least 300, and 212 million was reserved in potential credits for Foxconn that won't be paid. That totals 1.2 billion. Is that enough of a hedge against any downturn in the economy caused by the pandemic, or do you think the downturn will potentially go back to 1 billion or even 2 billion, sir?
Yeah, I think it's a starting place. We're going to do whatever we can to cut down what we're spending this year, but the revenues certainly are not going to be anywhere near what they were in the past, and we just have to plan long term here. So do I think we're going to need a budget repair bill? I hope not. I think we should just start planning for the next biennium budget. But we really won't know that until we get some final expenditure numbers and so on and so forth. But we're not in a good place, but we're in a place where you can see light at the end of the tunnel.
Can I talk about your personal bubble? We've all been living with bubbles. Tell me about, is your bubble the executive residence? And then how many times a week do you average go to the Capitol? How many people are in your bubble? Of course, the First Lady. Well, can you talk about your bubble, please?
Yeah, sure. And notwithstanding the security people.
Yes, sir.
My bubble is probably 5 people.
Okay.
And five people that I work with in the Capitol or here at the executive residence, plus my wife. We hardly ever see our kids or our grandkids.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is that what you most personally miss? You and I have 9 grandkids. I haven't seen 5 of them that are in Denver because we've had to cancel 2 trips to Denver because of COVID. Have you not seen your kids and grandkids like I haven't?
Well, we've seen them occasionally, but in small numbers. We try not to meet them, the whole group of them at one time. We avoid that, but in small numbers we did. Like our daughter stopped over the other day, and they know they have to be careful, and she's a physician, so she's extremely careful, and so we see them in small numbers, but it is hardly anywhere near what we have in the past, and we always meet them here.
What do you most personally miss under your own safer at home rules, sir?
Oh, I'd love to get more exercise. Personally, that is a major thing. It's important for me to stay healthy, and one of those ways is the exercise. Frankly, I hate doing the treadmill, but I'd love to get outside more often. And you know, I miss. I'm a politician too. Being with people. You know, I'm not going to go as far as Trump did the other night. He wanted to go and kiss everybody in the audience, but I miss that. I miss being with people, whether it's on campaigning or whether it's at work, and that's me. I miss that a lot.
Well, I know the First Lady is an avid pickleball player. If after my hip transplant heals, I'd love to get on the court with her. But has she been able to play pickleball at all?
Yeah, she's got a group that she plays with that everybody knows who they all have been in contact with, and so she still plays pickleball and is doing well. Yeah, she'll be ready for you, Steve.
Okay. How many of your 9 grandkids are learning online, and how many are in person?
They are all learn. No, I have a couple that are going to school. They live down in Dodgeville, but the rest are learning online.
Okay,
it is difficult for everybody. I mean, there's no panacea here. They struggle with online learning as much as any other kid does.
But we're 6 weeks into the school year. Are you? How do I put this? Are you pleased that we haven't had more COVID outbreaks in both our K-12 and our university system, sir?
Yeah. I mean, it's messy. I'm not going to discount that, but especially in the K through 12 world, the numbers are small, and the good thing about kids is that K through 12 kids is if they're exposed or if they have it, you can quarantine them. You don't have to worry about them going out to bars or doing things that are going to be hurtful to them as far as spreading that. And so it's easier to quarantine and isolate kids than it is adults. And so I think schools are doing the best they can around that, and the university system seems to have turned a corner on that. It's never. I'll use a double negative. It'll never be not messy. It's going to continue. And we'll get a vaccine at some point in time, but it is going to take a long time to vaccinate 300 million people, and 2 doses. That's 600 million vaccinations.
Right.
And it's just going to take a long time. So people, I hate to say, we're going to hunker down for some time.
Well, at the last DHS ruling, both you and Secretary Palm warned against holiday gatherings. Let me ask, how many people will be around your Thanksgiving Day table, do you think?
I'd say 2 likely. There's a chance that we might get a couple of our kids to come in, but it'll be a small gathering.
How often are you personally tested for COVID, sir?
Just once. I was tested once before the Democratic National Convention, and no, there's I'm fine. We're in a bubble, and okay. It's like, right, we're the NBA, I guess. We're in a bubble, and we feel pretty good that we're in a good place.
Okay, just a couple more questions, because I do want to respect your time. The November 3, should that be a referendum on how the President Trump and our Republican legislators have acted or not acted on COVID, on the pandemic, sir?
Certainly. I mean, public health, there's a reason we call it public health. It's what we do as a nation and as a state to protect the public's overall health. And there's just no way that the pandemic and how this plays out shouldn't be part of the election. Absolutely.
When the president talks about how he's overcome COVID-19 and made some other comments likening it to the flu and don't be afraid of it, Does that hurt your efforts to get Wisconsin residents to
He hurts
take?
Yes, he hurts our efforts lots of times. I can remember back before Easter, we had just started our Safer at Home order, and he's talking about the fact that he's looking forward to Easter Sunday with the crowds in the churches and all that. And I thought to myself, what a bunch of BS. I mean, there was no way that was going to happen. And so his inconsistencies have been traumatic to our country and to public health. And then I will take on the Republicans here. Every reasonable intervention that we have put forward, we have ended up in court, every single one. And that is not the way we're solving this crisis. That's frankly one of the reasons that we have a crisis as deep as we have, is because we don't have the tools, or we are unwilling to use the tools that are available to us.
Then finally, Governor, you're almost midway through your first term. I looked it up. 2 days after the election, you'll be turning 69, a early happy birthday. Have you and the First Lady talked about whether you plan to seek a second term?
No, yeah, well, first of all, we have way too many things to worry about rather than the second term. And second of all, it's way, way, way too early. We're still working on the first term.
Okay, and when you and the First Lady do talk about a potential second term, what criteria will you use to go over that?
Well, certainly we'll be looking at our past record, but we'll also be looking forward to what we can accomplish in the future. And I think we've made some accomplishments. This pandemic has really stretched everybody to the limit. But as relates to more resources for schools and roads and healthcare, we've done that, not the level we want to. The next big challenge is to make sure that we have fair maps in this state, and this election will decide whether we will or not, depending on how that turns out. And so there's lots of things on the plate going forward, but I give myself an incomplete grade because we're still not done with our first term. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how it's going to continue to impact our personal lives, and make a decision after we look at those two items.
You had a pretty challenging first 2 years. Do you still like the job?
I love it. Yeah, there's plenty of frustrations, but I am continually emboldened and thankful for the resilience of the people of Wisconsin, Republicans or Democrats. We put up with a lot, and we're making, hopefully we'll be making some better progress in this pandemic. And the people of Wisconsin are great people to work with and to serve. And I still love this job regardless of the daily travails on certain issues.
Governor Tony Evers, thanks so much for talking to WisconsinEye. Really appreciate it. Have
Thanks,
a good day, and as you always say, stay safe.
Yep, stay safe, stay healthy. Take care, Steve.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Governor. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This program is a production of WisconsinEye, an independent, nonpartisan, nonprofit media network with a mission to inform, educate, and engage the citizens of Wisconsin. WisconsinEye is the nation's first and only independently funded state civic broadcast network, providing gavel-to-gavel access to government proceedings and events at the state capitol.